Hey there, Rivermen fans. I'm Jason Ruff, and welcome to the Dry Dock Podcast. Hey there, Rivermen fans. Welcome back to the Dry Dock Podcast. It's the podcast where we get a chance to talk to famous Rivermen, past and present, about the 40th season of hockey in Peoria, the championship season, and what they're doing here this summer, seeing as the Rivermanship is in dry dock, so to speak. Our next guest is a man who needs no introduction, though I'm going to try anyway. He is the winningest head coach in Peoria Rivermen history. He is a legend in Rivermen lore, both as a player and as a coach, a staple in the Peoria hockey community, and now a President's Cup champion. I, of course, am referring to Rivermen head coach Jean-Guy Trudel. Bonjour, Jean-Guy. Great to see you. And I see you've got the theme of the podcast already. I love the picture in the background.
There you go. I just did it just for you, buddy. How are you, buddy? Comment ça va, mon ami? Ça va bien?
Oui.
Oh, good.
Oh, Guy, you're a hard man to track down. You're quite busy here this off season. No rest for the brilliant, I see, eh?
Well, no, actually, plenty of rest. I always try to get a little trip going after the season, a little vacation with the family, with Angie. I feel like I'm away from them for 8 months. Hockey all the time for 8 months in the winter. So it's nice to kind of regroup, get with the family. We had that little mini vacation with the team. Then me and Angie went away for one long one short one. And now I'm back at doing my summer camps with my youth hockey kids here in Peoria. So really excited. We started this week, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm ready to get back to hockey. I can't stop working that long. It's been too long.
Well, Guy, it's for someone as brilliant as you in this coaching profession. I mean, I always say you're the John Cooper of the SPHL, or more specifically, John Cooper is the Jean-Guy Trudel of the NHL. It makes sense that you want next season to happen. And obviously the title defense for the Peoria Rivermen will start next season, but it's going to take a very good roster to do it. And looking back at this roster, this wasn't a team that a lot of folks were saying, oh, this was going to be a championship team. Watch out for them. You really had to build that roster. And it started off a little bit shaky with personnel and all that. We talked about that ad nauseum on the coaches show every week. But what surprised you the most about this roster and how it came together to form a championship caliber team?
The buy-in, every coach is going to tell you, if you don't have buy-in from the players, you're not going to do much. And it started from the beginning, like you talk, it was a very challenging year, but a very rewarding year. I think, the more work you put in, the more satisfying it is at the end. So we tried at the end, even with, different moves I did that probably weren't as popular with the fans as I would have liked to. But at the end of the day, we do anything we can to find as much character as we can. Especially in the big situation in the playoffs. We mentioned it earlier. It was our fourth final in 5 years, and those situations become really stressful situations when you get farther and farther. And we needed that type of character. We felt like this year that, even whatever moments was never too big for them. We understood task at hand. We knew what we had to do every single game. And when you have those character guys that will never quit, guys that buy in, guys that stick together, you give yourself a great opportunity to win in those big moments. It's easy to win a regular season game. Once you get to the finals, the stress level, the intensity, the physicality, everything kind of, times 2, times 3. So everybody's got to be on the same page and do the right things. And we felt when I sent in my playoff roster, I was pretty proud of how many character guys we had, how many team guys we had. So we felt pretty good about our chances, even maybe if we weren't a favorite to win the cup this year. Usually every year we are, and we have talented teams, but it seems like the finals kind of hits us and we get a little bit satisfied too quick. And this year we were never satisfied until we got the trophy.
Absolutely. And one of the things that struck out to me about this roster, outside of the heart, which was evident almost from the get-go, was how many guys were brought into this team who maybe looking at them from afar, you didn't expect maybe the most of them, the guys like J.M. Piotrowski, a Jack Barry, or even a Mike Laley, guys who you may have had some question marks of how they were going to fit in or what they were going to do, and they turn out to be your linchpin type guys. You can't imagine this team doing what they did without those guys, without a J.M. Pietrowski, without a Mike Lee, without a Jack Barry. But who really surprised you and jumped out at you over the course of this season from that roster?
Well, like I said, I don't think you can say one guy. I think everybody in their own way developed at their, at a certain speed. But they all brought, when you win a championship, everybody's got the big part in it. And from, Dale Dion, that, a little tidbit in the locker room, and, from him with his speech after the first period, where I think the most of the team were not happy with the way we performed in game 4 there in Roanoke. And from him saying that to, Chris Alleman making that plaque and then coming back from injury, a really bad injury, and he came back for a playoff run and played like a warrior. Guys that you don't, that people maybe don't not talk about as much, but that had big parts in everything we did. From Ole Yoke, that, even if he only played a few games, he was always there for his teammates and preparing everything, making sure everything, everybody had what they needed to be successful. So for me as a team, they always say it starts from up top, but for me, every single person is as important as the other. From Shaner, that's our athletic training. It's important how he takes care of the players after games, our equipment guys, our staff, our office people. So everything has their little part, to bring home a championship. So for me, just to say a guy, I think we had so many key cogs in the wheel that you can't just mention one.
I love that you mentioned Dale Dion's speech in the first intermission of game 4 of the finals against Roanoke. We had Mike Gertler on last week, and he said the same thing. Yes, he had the goal that started the rally in the second period, but he told us the turn really happened, or at least started, in that locker room in the first intermission with Dale Dion, kind of like Jason Hayward for the Cubs back in 2016, game 7, just got up and said, look, time for talking is over. Time to go to work, get it done. And the Rivermen started the rally, and they ended up getting it done. But I think that just goes to show there were so many leaders on that team who weren't necessarily wearing letters. Obviously, there was some movement, obviously, with injuries, guys coming out, and new pieces coming in. But who do you think was the biggest leader of that team who did not wear a letter, Guy?
I think, we got him a little late, but I loved L.A. Grissom. I think LA's got that personality that everybody kind of gravitates towards. He's an outstanding young man, outstanding player, came in with the right attitude. He was very disappointed that he didn't get it done at Aurora where he played college, because it was a senior year, and he was a captain there. He wanted to win a championship, but he came to us with a phenomenal attitude. And I thought he brought a new life to our D-core. He brought that physical 6'4" D that you need in the playoffs. Guys that block shot, play the heavy minutes, but also offensively. I think he gave us a lot more than we expected out of LA. But I think most importantly, he's the kind of guy that, in the locker room when he speaks, or even a lot of times his voice comes from, the way he plays on the ice. He works extremely hard. He's a great teammate. And I honestly thought when he came in, I think it changed. I think it gave a lot of confidence to a lot of guys. Just some people are just like that. They just have that, that, I don't know, there's something about them that people just play better. They just want to be around. They want to battle with. And LA's one of those guys that I'm sure on any team, if he moves up, and if we're lucky enough to get him a contract in ECHL, wherever he plays this year, if he comes back to us, he's going to have a letter for sure. But wherever he plays, he's that type of guy that brings that energy up, practice, games, everything else. And we were lucky to get him from Aurora. And like I said, hopefully we get him to the next level, because I truly believe he deserves it. But if not, it's going to be our job to make sure that, he has that leadership role with us and also keeps developing, because you can't teach 6'4", and you can't teach being a great teammate, have humility, and be a great person like he is.
You can't teach having an knack for scoring against the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs either, apparently.
Yeah, that's what his coach said. I think LA scored more with us in a month that he did in in his 4 years of college. So yeah, I mean, we like I said, that's something. You have a number of a team, and you just go at it. And it seems like the puck goes in every single time, and good for us. I always remember the kid's got such humility, such a humble kid. One time, I think after the semifinals, the dads were in the room, and LA's like, you know what, coach, thank you so much for bringing me in. I'm like, for this ride. And I'll always remember, I said, you know what, if it wasn't for you, LA, we wouldn't have this ride. That's how important everybody is to a championship team. And he was a big part of it.
I love that you mentioned that second round series, because obviously as memorable as the finals were, and they were memorable, but you always go back, it seems, or at least I do, to that second round series against Quad City. I believe it was Dave Schnitzny, head coach of Quad City Storm, and one of your proteges that mentioned after the whole thing was over that the only thing that could have made that series better was if it was for a championship. Rivalry aside, and even though it was only 3 games, felt like it could have gone 7. But rivalry aside, what made that series so impactful and so memorable to so many?
I think it starts with the rivalry, seeing each other so many times in a regular season. You develop I wouldn't say a hatred, but you develop a natural kind of, I don't know,
Animosity.
Yes, that's I guess the perfect word. You just don't like each other much, and then it carried in the playoffs. And I watched their playoff series against Fayetteville, and even though it went 3 games, I thought they dominated Fayetteville. And I knew Quad City was a team coming in. And a little tidbit after the second period of the 3rd game, I went in the locker room. My only speech was, whoever wins this period and wins this game is going to win the cup, because, you watch so much video as a coach and you see the intensity in our playoff series, how fast, how physical. Even Steve Ortman, my good friend that came on the bench for that series, was like, holy, he's like, this is not the SPHL anymore. This is like fast and physical hockey. So I had a good feeling that whoever won, like I said, no disrespect to Roanoke, I think they played extremely hard and actually outplayed us in many of those games. I felt like whoever won that last game against Quad City was going to win the cup, and we were lucky enough just to do a little bit more there to win that game, and then went to the finals and then brought her home. But yeah, that was a heck of a series, and like I said, they did a great job recruiting this year. I think top to bottom, his team was probably the most talented team in the league. We just, like I said, I think, I'm not saying they didn't have character. I just think, when it's your year, when it's your time, and when your players, we knew how much character, we knew we were going to battle for each other the whole way. And even being down 1-0 to Quad City, guys weren't that nervous. We knew we were coming home for 2, and they did the job. They did what they had to.
I know, but and Guy, that series had everything. Like you mentioned, had the Rivermen down 1-0, having their backs against the wall for 2 games. Had the Rivermen dominating game 2, including a 7 minutes that I swear, if you took the jerseys off, you would have thought you were watching NHL playoffs. And you had everything essentially for game 3, a back and forth, controversial calls or lack thereof, some great goaltending, a last minute heroic goal on the power play by Jordan Ernst, and all kinds of high drama that is the epitome of playoff hockey and the playoff experience in our sport. And that makes it so great. I think that's why, and like Dave Schnitzny said, the only thing that would have been better is it had it been for a trophy. And as your prediction, Mr. Nostradamus, we're going to have to start calling you a Nostradamus or something. it came true, because the winner of that period in game 3 ended up winning the series and eventually winning the President's Cup. Fast forwarding to that.
Sorry about that, but
no.
To win a championship, it's amazing the storylines you have. Like, we went with a Brendan Rumble that didn't play the first few games because of the end of the year. I wasn't happy with his consistency. I always loved him as a player. I didn't feel like he was consistent, didn't play. He comes in, and that earns his goal. Rumble just made the whole play and gave Ernie an empty netter. And it's amazing when everybody buys in and have the right attitude and the right mindset, how things just seem to, and that's what I told you earlier. You can't pinpoint just one player. Like, everybody had a phenomenal role in us, winning the trophy. And that's what's fun about winning a championship. You will always, I always tell that to players, no matter what, once you don't win a championship, you remember some guys on the team, you don't remember all of them. But once you win a championship, everybody had their role, everybody had their job, and they did something really special to make us win. So forever now, we are blessed to be together, and that's our legacy. We will remember each other. We'll remember Rumble play in that game. We'll remember Casey Kulsicki to block a shot with his head, bleeding, stitches, still scores a big goal for us. So just all those things, those guys are going to be engraved in Rivermen history forever, it's a great feeling.
That was part 1 of our interview with Rivermen head coach Jean-Guy Trudel. Tune in next week for the debut of part 2.